Hello and welcome to this recorded workshop from Estland. My name is Caitlin Pomerlow. I'm Estland's Content Marketing Director, and today we are going to be catching you all up to speed on the current state of SEO and how to win the web in the age of AI with everything that is going on. The long and short of it is that SEO is not dead, as you may or may not be hearing out there in the business world, but it's certainly evolving. So we're going to be covering how search has changed, so what's been happening between 2022 and the present with language learning models and AI, the challenges with this new SEO landscape, and then how you need to adapt. To make sure we're all on the same page, if you've been around for a long time, you've been in business, that you might have just started with a SEO strategy that looked a lot like this, that we just cared about getting green lights on Yoast, which is an SEO tool on the back end of sites like WordPress, making sure that your keywords were in strategic places, like it's in the title, it's in some headers, it's in there X amount of times per X amount of words. And if you wrote a blog and you ranked #1, you had a great SEO strategy. Today, it looks a lot different. It's a lot more complex. It's a lot more technical, and there's a lot of new players. So you'll see things like, we have language learning models out there. I'm going to say that word a lot. What that really means is ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, places where people are putting in questions that are not traditional search engines. So all of this is now at play. What does that mean for you? At a very basic level, traditional SEO alone is not enough. So, the old game used to be, we're going to put a bunch of content out there with the hopes that when someone searches a certain keyword or key phrase, that you're going to show up at the top of search. Well, now there's AI overviews, and sometimes people's questions are just being answered in the AI overview, pushing your results down. What does that mean? Click-through rates, organic website traffic is looking a lot different. When there's an AI overview present, 90% of searches right now aren't resulting in any clicks. So what does that mean for your business? Web traffic might be down. And then if someone isn't starting in a search engine to begin with, they're starting in something like ChatGPT, asking their question, they're going to skip a website altogether. So another thing that's changing is we used to just try to optimize for one or two or short phrases. Now search is a conversation. It's very similar to voice search optimization, where people are asking, hey Siri, hey Alexa, they're asking full sentence questions. Now in the search environment, whether it's in Google or a search engine or in a language learning model, people are talking in full sentences. So somebody might have used to just typed in best roofing company near me. People are adding context, who has the best warranty, who has the best reviews, that sort of thing. Just so that we're all on the same page too, this is what traditional search used to look like. There was just a question and then link, right? And then in language learning models, now, you're asking a question and you're actually getting a summarized answer. And then just to kind of show an example, obviously I mentioned with the AI overview is changing click-through rates a lot. However, if your company wins this snippet, this is called a snippet, if you're the one who's showing up in the snippet or showing up in the AI overview as the top link, that is massive, massive awareness and really great for your brand. And what we're talking about today is how do you make that happen? Because there's different rules to play by now. Good news, good-ish news, is that language learning models are scouring the entire internet. So it used to be that search really, like where you showed up in the search engine results page, only factored in a few things: how the quality of your page and the quality of your site, like what was on the page, and then quality scores for your site in general. Now, language learning models are literally going out and searching the entire internet for your digital presence. So they're looking at things like Reddit, Quora, your reviews, your Google business profile, your social media. What are people saying about your brand? And this can be good news because especially working with local regional businesses, your reputation is so important. And a lot of businesses, this is the difference that they have to offer against their competitors. So brand and like how you're showing up on the internet in general matters more than ever, as does the customer experience. Because if you have a lot of negative reviews out there or some, kinks in the system, in your customer's experience, you probably won't rank in language learning models. However, it can also level the playing field. You might be a smaller company, but if you have all 5-star reviews and you're just getting started, you can compete against the giants. And I'm going to show you how. And then finally, AI is affecting different sectors in different ways. The good news is, again, that it can't provide products and services. Right now, AI is not, adding a roof, putting shingles on a roof. They're not delivering propane. They're not remodeling a house. But however, it is affecting the information sector a lot more. Information categories could be things like wealth advisors, financial advisors, law firms, when people are looking for answers. So if you're in one of these categories, it might be time to rethink your content strategy, your presence, and what types of content you're putting out there if people are getting their informational content from other sources now, from AI and in language learning models. Next, I'm going to show you some examples and how the same question is answered in different ways in Google, in search engine results with AI overviews, and in language learning models. So I put in a very long prompt. I live in Randolph County, North Carolina. I'm looking for a reliable propane company. Who do you recommend? Now, it's recommending AmeriGas. There's also some Tractor Supply answers. There's Yelp, and then Ulyss Propane is actually one of Estland's clients. But you can tell that Ulyss is not winning the snippet in this exact search example. But when I put that exact phrase into a language learning model, I think this is ChatGPT, this is Perplexity, Ulyss Propane is at the top. And that is because Ulyss has higher sentiment or reputation across the internet than its national competitors. And it's pulling all of this information you can see from reviews for their listings, from their Google business. So all of these things matter. So they actually ranked on top in a language learning model when they didn't in an AI overview. So what do you do with this? Where do you go? The challenge is that it's a lot of moving parts. Now you might want to screenshot this. We're going to share, I think if you want the slide deck afterwards, we can more than willing to share that with you. But there's kind of a lot of new players. I like to joke that it sounds like EIO, Old McDonald, because SEO isn't just SEO now. There's answer engine optimization, generative engine optimization, AI integration optimization, and search experience optimization. So it's opening this whole new field of within the marketing and SEO space. And the long and short of it is that your company should probably focus on all of it. So think of it kind of like a relay race. There's certain techniques, just like, we used to just place keywords and certain places strategically in locations, and you would show up in search engine results pages. There's certain things you can do to win and succeed in these different layers. So answer engine optimization are things you can do to show up in the AI overview results or snippets in traditional search. So if you're in Google, what do you need to do to show up in the AI overview or in the snippets? Number 2 is if somebody is in a language learning model, how do I show up when someone asks that question there? Because often you'll see a little link, it's citing it in the AI platform itself. There's certain things that you can ensure your content has to be trusted enough to be mentioned in the language learning model. Third, AIO is all about using AI. We're hearing companies a lot. How can we use it? How can we leverage it? How can we optimize our operations? And so that's a whole nother sector of this. And then finally, we are back to technical technical website stuff. So the actual experience, because now we're not just optimizing for humans. I mean, we were always optimizing for crawlers and in the search engine results, but now more than ever, the user experience has to be catered to these crawlers and humans at the same time, and you have to make sure that they have access to your site. So here's some kind of examples. We recommend, for all of this. So as you're thinking about your website content, your blog content, your social media posts that are being indexed by Google, keeping answers short, sweet, structured, thinking about 101 of like writing an essay in English. Does the title and the thesis and the headers revisit what you're talking about? Are you talking like an actual human? Are you writing simply, clearly? Because more and more, the AI overviews are actually grabbing information from the middle of a blog, not just, it might be a very specific question that you're answering in part of it or on part of your page. Next, to get actually cited in language learning models, it's going to be different every time. These models are dynamic. You could ask the same question in a new chat 3 different days in a row and get 3 different answers. But the thing that is most important is authority. And we'll talk a little bit about that more, but what we're really recommending is leaning into your expertise, leaning into your authority, adding author bios. If you've been in your industry for 20 years, if you have certifications in this field, having actual quotations from real human beings saying things that they can back. If there's statistics you can bring in that are unique. Language learning models love statistics. They love numbers, but always going in depth, because the more AI generated content that is out there, the more that human created content is going to rise to the top as something that it trusts. So any way that you can compare, because people are often asking those questions in there. And then AI integration optimization, number 3, is really about how you're using AI in your company, which I won't go into too much detail. But what we're recommending is, you can use AI as a tool to scale what you've created as a human, right? So you shouldn't use AI to create content. There's a lot of issues there. However, if you have a human and you do an interview, you do a Q&A, you create an FAQ page, perhaps you can think about ways to integrate AI to give everything you're doing longer runway. Finally, speed matters. So speed matters from a user experience, because people have really high expectations for how long a page will load, things buffering, things like that. So that's always mattered. But now, you're also want it to be fast for these crawlers that are out there looking for this information. So if your competitor's site is better structured, there's better, like the breadcrumbs make sense, the schema makes sense, the robots, the crawlers, the text files are able to understand your site faster, then you're going to lose out. So we're really refocusing on flow, UX, simplicity, and making sure that everything is really organized and buttoned up on the back end. So again, how do you win? This is what we're seeing. We are recommending to shift, no matter the industry, no matter your company, think about the middle of the funnel, because you've heard these top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, right? There are certain tactics, where you're still going to be bringing people in top of the funnel, focusing on brand awareness. However, when you're in the information category, when you're trying to convert to more leads, we're seeing more and more success, and we're recommending that you focus your content strategy on the middle of the funnel, because right now AI is going to overcrowd the top of the funnel. If you're thinking you're going to get a customer from them asking a simple question like, what's the difference between a tank and a tankless water heater? Likely a small local business with a very general question like that isn't going to win the snippet, be in the AI overview, or get cited in a language learning model. Now, if you have content that is optimized for who installs tankless water heaters in, Stewart, Virginia, then you're more in the consideration phase. Maybe somebody's already decided. So what we, and you should consider doing, is creating content that can help people choose if they're already at that consideration phase. So that's looking like really building out product pages, going deep, showing your authority by showing, like, telling real stories about case studies. Comparison, we're seeing a lot of comparison. People are asking language learning models, ChatGPT, who's better, this or that? What decision should I make? That sort of thing. So any overt guide you can put out there that is explaining why you are different from your competitor, or why this brand that you are a distributor of, is superior, and just lay it out there so that you're going to be more likely to be cited, is better. And then FAQ pages are seeing a huge comeback. So because they very quickly get in and out and answer commonly asked questions. So to support that, we're also recommending, and a lot of our strategies coming up for the next year are about, once somebody has hit your site, let's hit them again with retargeting. Let's focus on lead magnets. So perhaps you have a comparison guide, or you have a buyer's guide. Well, let's gate it. Let's put it behind, we're getting their email so that we can get them into an email marketing drip to hit them a couple times while they're still in that consideration phase. Let's convince them why you are the best local company. You're the best roofing company for their roof replacement that they're thinking about in the next 6 months. So this is just kind of the scratching the surface, but these are our recommendations with the state of AI right now, so that you all can be working smarter and not harder. Finally, this is kind of the asterisk, a warning about AI. Really, it comes down to, right now, we're seeing a lot of business owners, for good reason, you want to leverage AI to, help your bottom line. You want to use AI to create blogs or content or social media posts. However, this is a long game, and originality and authenticity will always win out. And we're seeing, and the research is showing, that human-led content is still going to rise to the top. We are going to see more and more content that looks the same. And then also there's a lot of legal and copyright and ethical challenges that are bubbling under the surface. And then we are also seeing, I would say, do not put anything into a language learning model about your business that you wouldn't want on the front page of a newspaper. Because unless you have like a paid subscription and you really stand behind the privacy of that business, there are leaks. There have been leaks where searches and conversations with the models have become public. So do not put in financial information into it. Do not put in your strategy, anything proprietary. And then finally, they cannot be trusted all the time. There are things called hallucinations and misinformation, where you put in a question and you feel like it is really answering it with authority. And then when you ask it for, citing it, it cannot. And it's just found to be wrong. And so I think we're going to see this more and more and more. So again, this is a model, and models, are projecting into the future. But I just want to reiterate that AI is only as good as the data you put into it. And this is kind of what's happening. So the models themselves they don't freely think, right? They're just like consolidating information that they can find on the internet, synthesizing it, and making something new from it. And at first, they're going off of just human generated content, but now there's AI generated content out there. So now the AI models themselves are learning on content that's published that was actually created by AI. And the more and more and more that this happens, it's a funnel. There's a lot of folks out there in the technology world that are saying that, this is not going to end well, because as the cycle continues, these errors, these hallucinations are just going to multiply, and then the less accurate information is out there. And then this mistrust of AI, I think it's already beginning, but it's only going to get more concerning for folks and more obvious to folks. I think already we're seeing, people sometimes have a hard time discerning what is AI and what is human-led. I think that humans are going to get better at discerning that, but also just take a minute, talk in your leadership teams about where your company stands, where you want to be in all of this, what you are comfortable with in terms of using AI versus not using AI. Because in our opinion at Estland, what we're seeing in the research is that brands that still lean on their authentic voice and use their firsthand knowledge within their niche or within their industry are going to rise to the top in terms of their brand, their reputation, their awareness, the sentiment that's out there on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my warning. This is our warning. With that being said, this is kind of why AI generated content isn't always going to win, because it doesn't always get deep with this experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, which has always mattered for Google. It still applies today. So the more you can go in depth, the better. Now, I talked a little bit about technical things when I talked about the search experience optimization. Basically, there is some work that might need to be done on your website that you're not aware of, because if certain agents are blocked from your site, which, you don't want all agents to be able to hit your site, but you could be inadvertently blocking agents like Anthropic or ChatGPT or Claude from even accessing your site. So it's almost like you need to index your site for the language learning models. So think about that. Can they access your website? Does your site use breadcrumbs properly? So is your site organized in an architecture that makes sense to somebody looking for information? Are your services is there a consistent taxonomy in your URL structure? There used to be kind of this wave against that, so that we would have short URLs. So it wouldn't be /services, /roofing, /metal roofing. Now those sorts of guidelines are helpful for crawlers to understand the organization of your content. Similarly, it's important that you have schema on your website so that the crawlers know, is this a web page? Is this a news article? Is this a blog post? Is this a media file? Is this a chart? Is this a bio of somebody? So that's an example of schema. So we're kind of going back to basics, where it's not just about how things look, but how they're built. And then, of course, back to site speed, we're seeing, your site, if it's slow and not accessible and not ADA compliant, again, these agents might blow past yours in favor of another. So in summary, I know this was a lot, but I know that you are all busy business owners, and I'd love to, continue this conversation. But key takeaways: search isn't disappearing. Now, when we're talking about numbers, Google is still, billions of users daily, right? And language learning models are still in the millions. However, I have small children, and we're hearing in this space that, just Google it is going to be a thing of the past. As AI develops, people are more and more going to be relying on AI to ask questions, to search, to get answers. And so as business owners right now, it's a little bit of, you need to have your foot in both doors, both sides, until, it fully shifts. Second, rankings won't be the traffic driver they used to be. So when we talk about SEO, we're talking a lot about visibility. Are you number one? Are you number two? Are you number three? What percentage are you? That's not going to matter as much, but there is also a way now to quantify and measure how you're showing up in language learning models. So with tools like SEMrush that Estland uses, there's an AI SEO toolkit reporting. It can show you your visibility and how often and what your share of voice is in those spaces against your competitors. So again, there's tools for this already, but it's kind of going to be a both and. You need to still care about your visibility rankings, but you should also know how you're showing up in these spaces and then how to adapt your content strategy to make sure that you have a share of voice. SEO is not dead. That's number 3, not dead. It's just evolving. It's a lot more than keywords now. There are ways to, again, in the SEO AI tool in SEMrush that we're seeing a lot of success with many of our clients. It's not just keywords, it's phrases. It's what are people actually asking? What simple questions and queries and what do they care about? Or this is just our personal opinion. Do not rely on AI to create content. It could really come back in the future to bite you. Tread lightly. And then 5th and final key takeaway is with SEO AI toolkits, and specifically in SEMrush, which is what we're using, it can actually measure across the internet using AI how people are talking about your brand. So what is your sentiment score? How positive how are people speaking about your brand? There's a report that can say kind of what your opportunities are for improvement. What are some of the negative things people are saying? And this is really awesome to see because over and over and over again, we are seeing the local companies really stand out and stand up against the Goliaths, right? Okay, so now what? What we're recommending, kind of your next steps. If you're watching this and you want to get in touch with Estland, please do so. But I think the first thing is awareness. Learn how your company is showing up in AI and in those spaces. Do a couple of those simple searches. Then I think the next thing is using some of these things to change your strategy. So updating your research, knowing what people are asking, doing a technical audit of your website. How is the speed looking? How are your breadcrumbs? Are the agents, is it open to search for them? And then verify that they can even access your site, because you're certainly not going to show up if they can't access your site. And then really start focusing on that middle of the funnel content. And then 3rd and final, again, just a cautionary warning. If you have even a small company, a mid-sized company, it's important to create policies in your employee handbooks about how people can and cannot use AI in the workplace. What information are they maybe inadvertently sharing or leaking to the public by, even asking common questions, or are they putting proprietary information in there? So with that, obviously this is a recorded webinar, so I can't receive any questions right now. But again, my name is Caitlin Pomerleau. I am the Content Marketing Director at Estland. I really hope that you learned something new, and let us know how you like this, and reach out if you want to talk further.